Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, panel, for your patience with the second round. There's been a lot of discussion about the 1992 bailout of the Ex-Im Bank. And I guess maybe Ms. Giannopoulos is the person that I need to ask about the restructuring of the Ex-Im Bank since 1992 to the fee-for-service model, and, are they in a position for us to have to bail them out again?
Well, it's difficult to say if we're going to have to bail out the bank again. Of course, some of our recommendations that over the past few years since the 2012 reauthorization have focused on the way that the bank looks at its portfolio risk management, and the bank has been responsive to almost all of the recommendations we've made since that time to look at how they're calculating that loss.
Thank you so very much. There's been a lot of discussion about the stress test that the bank has undergone. I guess, Mr. Hochberg, I want you to tell us how you have performed under these stress tests.
Well, Congresswoman, I think the most perfect stress test we've had is the recession that we've just gone through. And if I take a look at, I'm sorry, it was in my written testimony, but our defaults, as reported to Congress in 2006, were a high of 1.6%. We've gone through the worst recession, the most stressful time in not only our economy but the global economy. And as you can see in the written testimony, our defaults have declined each and every year since. So that, in my opinion, is still the most perfect stress test. On top of that, we do stress tests in our CFO's department on a routine basis to look at different stresses in our portfolio. But let's not forget that the recession created a very perfect example of that.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, particularly since under Title I of Dodd-Frank, the globally systemic risky banks that we bailed out during 2008 have not yet submitted their living wills as mandated under Title I in 2010. So I would say that there's a lot more risk from Wall Street and from the banking community that there is with the Ex-Im Bank. Let me ask this question. There's been a lot of discussion of Delta. So there have been lawsuits. I think Delta has really gone to court to suggest that the Ex-Im Bank has put them in a very non-competitive situation. I guess I would like for the committee to hear what the results of those lawsuits have been, Mr. Hochberg.
Thank you, Vice Chair Moore. Delta has sued the bank on 4 occasions. The courts have ruled in favor of the Export-Import Bank in all 4 occasions and has not found anything in their particular case. The cases basically say that when we finance a foreign carrier, could that potentially have damage to a U.S. company? We review, as I've mentioned, every single transaction, not just in the aircraft, but the entire bank. Any transaction over $10 million we look at for any potential harm. The last thing we want to do at the Export-Import Bank is harm the U.S. economy and hurt the U.S. economy. So we look at, it's called economic impact. We look at the positive benefits and make an estimation with outside consultants about any potential harm, and we balance those two against each other. And we have, so Delta has claimed that. We review every aircraft transaction and have found no evidence of it.
I guess my last minute, I turn to Mr. Sheets, because we have heard an awful lot of talk about this indictment of Mr. Gutierrez and potential indictments coming down from the Ex-Im Bank. I just am so concerned about the lack of indictments for what happened in 2008. And I'm wondering if what we see in the Ex-Im Bank indictments has nearly the globally systemic impact that we saw in 2008, where we've seen very few indictments come down.
The impact of the bank failures during 2008 and 2009 globally was of astronomical proportions, not only here in the United States, but the global implications of that were literally beyond what I can calculate in terms of lost economic output and jobs and human and psychic pain. I don't think that these indictments are of a similar magnitude.
Well, the gentlelady's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence.